Really enjoyed your work this season. You've really, your character has grown and grown, and then you had your amazing work in Ice Chips this season. That
Thank
really
you.
was like kind of brought it all together and really
Yeah.
let us know who she is.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
so when you joined the Bear, did you know this was something special from day one? Like, your character, when we first meet you, you don't get a ton to do from the first couple episodes. But so what was your kind of understanding of the show? What were your expectations?
Yeah. When I first signed on, I really loved the script. I knew Natalie was this, kind of concerned sister. And I loved the writing. I thought it was so beautiful. As soon as I saw the pilot, I was like, wow, this is dark. This is, edgy. This is kind of like Panic in Needle Park. This is cool and unlike anything I've ever done before. I didn't know to what extent Natalie would, be involved. And so during season one, they have the friends and family dinner at the end of the season, and Natalie's there. And that's when she's sort of like, there's an aha moment. It clicks to her what Carmi's trying to do here. And, which is just create, his own family and create this restaurant where he can thrive and honor his brother. And so with season two, I didn't know what to expect. And it just made perfect sense, timing wise for me. I was pregnant and they kind of wrote me in to the restaurant as this kind of maternal caregiver. She's helping Carmi out so much. And this is where Sugar sort of sees her opening of like, I'm really good at numbers. I work at a bank. I'm going to help you with the bills. I'm going to involve myself and throw myself into this. I'm also pregnant, absolutely terrified to have a baby. And this is the perfect thing for me at this moment. And so Sugar kind of finds her calling in season two and, her purpose with working at the restaurant. And I was so grateful that, they were wonderful to me during my pregnancy and wrote it in because, a lot of times you're hiding behind a platter or whatever it is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was none of that. I think the coolest thing too was that she held it from Carm. She was really nervous to tell her brother, which is something that I think a lot of people relate to, where they're kind of, it's almost like not abandoning, but they're creating a new nuclear family. And, so I think she was very nervous to tell him and how he would take that. And then, you get to see season three, you get to see her feel all this anxiety. And then, on the actual day, the only person who's there for her is Donna, who's the last person she wants to be in the delivery.
Yeah. So how did your understanding of your character change since episode one? Because like you said, you didn't know what season two is going to bring for you. So as each season comes about, it's not like there's an arc. They say, here's where she's going to start. Here's where she's going to end. So you're getting it fed to you and you have to kind of digest it and then just determine how you're going to portray that. So how does that change?
Yeah. I mean, I think it changed a lot, especially with my own pregnancy. I think that, I was so grateful that they wrote it in. Again, I think it just fit perfectly for the story. And with Sugar, she kind of used the restaurant as this outlet for her anxiety of like, this is what I'm going to focus on and get my mind off of this other thing that, that I don't really want to deal with, which is my own trauma with my mother and my family. And what is it going to look like for me to be a mom and, carry that baggage? And how do I not fuck it up? I just feel like I'm going to fuck it up. And so, kind of my understanding of Sugar, throughout that whole trajectory was just that, she is this extremely empathetic character, but with that, like she has this other baggage and she kind of dives into other people's issues. And I think like for her going through bills, like that helps her chill, she feels like she's like accomplishing something. And And, you know, I just picture her like finishing a job, paying all the bills. And now she's like twiddling, like, now what else can I do? How else can I help? You know, she just constantly wants to help.
And she has to have, like you said, with her upbringing, knowing she's going to be bringing a child into the world, and then she's going to have to play the parental role,
Yeah.
and worrying that, are you going to repeat history? Are you going to be able to deliver as a mother? Has to weigh
Yeah.
heavy on her.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, something that all parents to be ask themselves, it's like, and I had a great upbringing. I love my parents, and I still am like, am I gonna repeat the same exact patterns? Is this, how do I get out of this? And like, how am I gonna do this? And I think that's, the big picture stuff that weighs on Sugar way more than like the everyday annoyances. She can roll her eyes at that. She can roll her eyes at, a setback with the restaurant, whatever it may be. But she sees like the big things. And yeah, I mean, I think then having to kind of literally confront it when she gives birth, it was just so well written that, the last person that Sugar wants to see is Donna. She's the only one that is there for her when she goes into labor. It's just so fitting.
And for Ice Chips, almost the whole episode is spent with you lying in a bed. Yet it's one of the most impactful and one of the most emotional episodes of the season, of the series as well. It's essentially a 2-woman show. So I'm curious, how did you work with Jamie Lee to bring this to life? What was like, were you given time to develop it on your own? Was there a lot of direction? Like, how does that work? Because it seems so authentic and raw.
Yeah, I mean, when I got the scripts, I was just so like pleasantly surprised that, this isn't, I knew I was going to have a labor episode before. And when I was actually in labor with my son, I recorded my contractions, so I could go back and watch them. But I was so surprised that it was going to be about her mother and about her and her mom. It wasn't a labor birthing episode where, okay, let's get to the hospital. We don't need that. It was about the connection and the relationship between these two women. And then the labor is just where they were, the delivery room was where they were while they are having this. It's not a reconciliation, but like a resolve of some sort and a connection. And, at that moment, like they really need something from each other. Sugar needs that comfort and that love and her mother to be a mother. And Donna is just so thrilled that she called her, and she's been working on herself, and she needs to feel connected to Natalie in that moment. And there is this, like, there are these beautiful moments where they do connect, and she is comforted by her mother, and she's held by her, which is like all she needs. And, she's making her feel better, telling her labor stories. And then she has a terrible contraction, and Donna goes back to being Donna and tells her she has her dad's ass, like stuff like that, where it's like, she's never going to be perfect. And this is just going through all these raw emotions together.
And one of the things that's the beauty of the episode is that, like you said, she's the last person she wants, but she needs someone, and she gets it through Donna. And Donna needs someone. Donna,
absolutely
needs anyone. So to see this kind of mutually beneficial yet very kind of oil and water relationship somehow, blend together so perfectly is amazing.
Yeah. I was so blown away when I read the script of just, she is in this like labor so long sometimes. And, there's just so much waiting, and it's so tedious. And, you see Natalie kind of like, when is it going to happen? And she's waiting with this person who she's like, well, what are we going to talk about now? And and then she has an excruciating contraction, and it, it feels like it's never going to end. And then it's quiet, and she's like, oh, some peace. And then she's just stuck with Donna,
And she looks over. Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about you.
Exactly. And it's like, wait a minute, how long is this going to go on for? Yeah. And, another thing that I just thought was so brilliant is that they don't end the episode with a baby in Natalie's arms, because that's not what it was about.
Yeah, it ends up with Donna in the arms of blanking on the characters' names.
Yeah, facts.
Yes. Which is an unexpected ending, but it kind of like a nice closure to it. That's like, everybody things go back to normal, but you got pushed through this moment that you have to have, that you need, that both of them need support, and then they both kind of carry on, probably a little bit better off. So,
exactly.
Was it as physically draining as it looked? Because, a lot of this time you're saying you're sweaty, you're pushing, you're, in a very awkward position. Was it challenging?
Yeah. I mean, the contractions, like I was just really trying to go back to my own contractions when I gave birth to my son, and just trying to like put myself in that like guttural, that place of like, I am in the deepest pain of my life, and kind of picturing that, and what do I need from her comfort wise? Is it to be touched? Maybe not in that moment, and okay, I need to turn away from her. I don't want to look at her face anymore. And I just want to be by myself. And then she's there, and then it feels good. And oh my God, okay, I actually do like that. And can you do that again? And oh, ice chips. Wow. Those are the best fucking ice chips I've ever had, So yeah, I think like just going back to like that excruciating pain, and also like panting like that, like to act it out is like, I get so lightheaded. And then it is the he. Thankfully, my mom is wonderful and didn't push any, Lamaze type breathing on me. But that sort of thing of just like, I'm also kind of cringing at that, but it's also kind of helping me. That was another part of it.
How many he's do you think you delivered during that episode? Or during the shaping?
I mean, well, considering we did it like 2 times through, we really only shot it 2 times through. Yeah, I mean, 50 plus at least.
Yeah, I'd guess even higher than that. But yeah, it's I think it's just amazing that it's such a small episode. It's all takes place first in the car, then in this room, and the camera's so tight. So you're very much like not just in the room with them, you're there. Like it's almost as if you're sitting on the other side of the bed.
Right.
In this very personal moment.
Yeah.
So there's no like kind of room for,
no.
to hide.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like, it's them both facing a huge fear of both of theirs, is just like face to face having to go through this together. And, for me, I think I don't know that I would have felt the same doing that season 1 as I did season 3, with just, knowing our crew, knowing Jamie at this point, having full trust in Chris and Joanna, and, feeling as comfortable as I was in that moment to, have these really small reactions, knowing the camera guys, knowing that, they would catch it, and trusting that process. And really Jamie, like, she's just so unbelievable. And when I think we ran it through once before, and then jumped right into it. And I knew that if we kind of floated around the script, we'd find our way back. And she trusted that I would get there as well. And if someone lost their place, one of us would go back, and, we'd get it to where it needs to be, or I just go to a contraction because,
So you also have, to start the episode, you have this battle with Siri trying to get the call through, trying to find someone to help you, and kind of showing your comedic chops, which you're also SNL alum. So it's obviously you have I don't know how to put it, but you have a strong set of comedic chops that can be displayed. But here in this episode, that shifts from a little bit of comedy to very very intense to very emotional.
Yeah.
It's you get to play a lot more than you'd expect if you just read like a tagline for what the episode was about. What I was curious about was your father, being the great Chris Elliot, is an actor and a comedian. Did he provide you with guidance over your career with your comedy? Did he help shape who you are as a performer, or?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that, my dad was always like, you're really funny. I took myself super seriously and I wanted to go to like drama school and be a dramatic actress. And he was like, you're really funny and you make us laugh all the time. Like, why don't you try improv? And it'll help you in every aspect of your life. Even if, you don't go into improv comedy, like it really does. And, I really enjoy doing both. I've kind of like, I go back and forth between like, well, should I just like kind of pick a lane? And then I'm like, no, why? It's all, it's all there and it's all fun. And I want to be able to go back and forth and do both drama and comedy. And I'm so lucky to On the Bear because it is such a grounded comedy that, we have these moments of, intense drama and connection and, just humanity. And then you're able to laugh the next scene. Whatever the facts are up to always makes me laugh. And so I think like, being able to play, I love playing a foil to Maddie Matheson in that and finding the comedy as like a straight person that is like, oh, sweetie, no, honey. That's really fun. And yeah. And then, going forward with my career, like I really love doing both.
Yeah, it's great to watch it. Watch you your character evolve and just get to see different aspects of you on screen. Especially from season 1 till now. It's like, my gosh, how your character has grown. What we knew of her from the early episodes to what we know of her now, and how much the humanity, like you said, is delivered there is really really quite wonderful. So, congrats on that.
Well, thank you so much.